Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. It is a Pewter post-game show, and we are talking about a throttling of a victory for the Buccaneers. They dismantled, decimated, annihilated, destroyed the Carolina Panthers by a score of 48-14. It was everything that Bucs fans wanted in this game. Baker Mayfield threw for 5 touchdowns. Bucky Irving reached 1,000 rushing yards on the season. Mike Evans scored 2 touchdowns. He got closer to 1,000 receiving yards. There was a special teams touchdown, several sacks by the defense, and a where were you moment when a duck was on the field and became a good luck duck, as the Bucs scored a touchdown on the next play on a blocked punt by JTS, scored by J.J. Russell. Now a fan favorite. The Bucs had everything going in this game, and we're going to break it all down on this afternoon show. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds, live from Raymond James Stadium. Scott, how are we doing?
Really good. This is quite the game today. It was close at the beginning, and the Buccaneers just pulled away. We saw those injuries that we had talked about in the Pewter pregame show really show up today for the Panthers. They just did not have the weaponry. They didn't have the defense to slow down this offense, and the guys on offense to keep up with Tampa Bay, which they came out and made a statement today. They want to be in the playoffs. They want to atone for last week, and they're going to need some help from the Commanders tonight against the Atlanta Falcons, the visiting Atlanta Falcons. I've been getting text message. It means a lot for this team to put themselves in position to win the NFC South if they can get some help. They know that they crapped the bed last week. They had the destiny, the fate in their hands and let go of the rope a little bit, but they're hoping that with a win today and then a win next week against really what looks to be like a hapless New Orleans Saints team, that if they get some help from the Commanders tonight against the Falcons, they can win their 4th NFC South title.
Yeah, the Bucs did their job, and they will have something to play for in Week 18 regardless, because if the Commanders lose, then the Bucs have a chance to get in if Washington loses to Dallas the week before. But obviously the way easier route is just Commanders beat the Falcons, Bucs win next week, and they're in. So they had to take care of business by winning today. But they didn't just win. I mean, they won with style today, just beating the absolute brakes off of the Carolina Panthers. And of course, it came with its ups and downs a little bit. Like, the Bucs started out great on offense, 7-0 in the blink of an eye, and then even faster than a blink of an eye, it was 7-7 as the Panthers drove right down the field. Adam Thielen hurt the Bucs a little bit this afternoon. But credit to the Bucs defense. Again, second half, pitching a shutout, making second half adjustments. We've learned from Bucs, this Bucs team, they are going to ball out on offense. That's just what they're going to do. So the Bucs defense just needs to play average to okay, and that's what they were in the first half. And then, really started getting to Bryce Young in the second half, and it's evident how much the talent prevailed in today's game. But man, it was a ton of fun to watch.
I mean, when you're 71.4% on third down conversions, right? 10 of 14, you're having a day, right? If you're Baker Mayfield and Liam Coen, if you have as many incompletions, 5, as you have touchdowns, 5, you're having a day if you're Baker Mayfield. I think we can pencil him in for the NFC Offensive Player of the Week awards already. 27 of 32, 359 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, and a 153 quarterback rating. Baker Mayfield's second ever 5-touchdown performance, had one with the Browns in 2020, which was his best year in Cleveland. And he did his part in getting Mike Evans closer to that 1,000-yard milestone. It would be 11 straight seasons to start Mike Evans' career and 11 straight consecutive seasons, which would tie Jerry Rice, who also had that mark first in Rice's career. Didn't start off with 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Mike Evans, only player to have the chance to do that. And Mike actually has the record with 10 right now. But 85 yards needed against the Saints next week?
Yep.
Certainly more doable.
Number.
That's the magic number. And, we saw, some history happen today, right? Wasn't the first time that the Buccaneers had rushed for 1,000 or had a 1,000-yard rusher per se, but Bucky Irving was the first player since Doug Martin back in 2015 to hit 1,000 yards. So congratulations to Bucky Irving. He had his third 100-yard game of the season as Tampa Bay piled up 551 yards, outgaining the Panthers 551 to 204. Matt, the Buccaneers ran for almost as many yards, 202, as the Panthers had total yards, 204. Yeah. Bucky Irving was doing it through on the ground, through the air, had a huge catch and run on a screen pass. 113 yards rushing for Bucky Irving, 5.7 yards per carry, 34-yard run, and then had a career-long 42-yard catch, 4 catches, 77 yards for Bucky Irving. And we heard the chants once again today, Bucky, Bucky, Bucky. And we also heard today, Ducky, Ducky, Ducky. As we can dub this team the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for today, because that duck appeared on the Jumbotron and on the field right at the time when Joe Tryon-Shoyinka blocked that punt, which was scooped and scored by J.J. Russell. So there you got it. The Buccaneers, Bucky Irving, Sean Ducker, and Ducky, Ducky, Ducky right there. So it was a wild day. I had a chance to ask Bucky Irving after the game at the press conference what his thoughts were on seeing that duck appear on the Jumbotron while the punt was being blocked. What was the reaction on the sidelines? And he said, that's a sign of things to come with my Oregon Ducks, perhaps poised to win a national championship. Jalen McMillan was asked the same question in the locker room, and he said, I hate ducks. Absolutely can't stand ducks. If that was a dog running out in the field, I'd be all about it. Of course, Mr. Washington Husky himself. But Jalen McMillan, Matt, 2 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns now in the last 4 games. We've talked about it for a couple weeks now. Who's going to step up alongside Mike Evans on this offense? And Jalen McMillan has answered the call. He is really turning into that player that the Bucs had expected him to be with the 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, he was tremendous once again today. That's 6 touchdowns now in 4 games. He had 5 catches for 51 yards, 2 scores. You can pretty much pencil him in for a touchdown, every game down the stretch. Yeah. So, like we said before, there's no replacing Chris Godwin, but if the Bucs can get it in a collaborative effort, they can still be a great offense. And that's exactly what we saw. I mean, you want to talk about records being broken. Yes, congratulations to Bucky Irving, 1,000 rushing yards. Mike Evans with his touchdowns moved closer on the all-time touchdowns list in the NFL. He did it with a number of his receptions as well. As we know, of course, he's still going for 1,000 yards. Baker Mayfield tied his career high with 5 touchdown passes today. He did it back in 2020 when he was still on the Browns. Devin Culp had his first career catch in the NFL and had a pretty solid game. And Payne Durham scores his first career touchdown and then launches the football into the crowd. Thankfully, he was able to get it. But I was really impressed with the tight ends today.
Yes.
Culp, 3 catches for 52 yards. Payne, 2 catches, 36. And that touchdown, his first catch, also helped set up the first score of the game. So you got contributions everywhere. Bucky Irving was fantastic. And then, I was watching it on the TV, obviously, but the swing of emotions of, showing the duck, being like, oh, that's hilarious, to, oh, my God, block punt, touchdown, J.J. Russell. It seemed like it was pandemonium at the stadium.
Really
I think it's good for the Bucs. Maybe get a little rallying cry. So next week, they got to show the duck on the screen again. Maybe put it in the crown, put it on the pirate ship, something like that. I think the fans should give the duck a standing ovation. And, sometimes when you get on, I know they're not on a winning streak, but they've won, 4 of their last 5 or whatever the case is. Sometimes you need that little extra, like, theme song, character, figure, whatever. The Bucs may have it now with this duck, so don't overlook the good luck duck, if you will, for this Bucs team. But yeah, offensively, anything they wanted to do, they did. They only punted it one time, and that was at the end of the second quarter. I don't want to take it for granted, but this is the Bucs offense that we've come to know. When they're not turning the ball over, they're just scoring tons and tons and tons of points. I mean, this is the third time this year they've gotten over 40 points. They obviously had the 51 burger against the Saints, and they scored 40 points, 2 weeks ago against the Chargers? So this team can really just score at will, and not much can stop them.
The only thing that can stop them is themselves, right? When the penalties show up in untimely fashion, when the turnovers happen, that's where this offense has been stopped. I don't know that there's a defense out there that can really, truly slow Tampa Bay down without turnovers. This offense, I mean, you can pencil this offense in for 30 points every week.
I know.
If it holds onto the ball. I mean, it's remarkable. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving. I mean, it's quite the trio. Then you throw in the cast of characters, Jalen McMillan, as you mentioned, the two tight ends doing some real damage today. Kate Otton's going to come back at some point, right? It's only going to make this offense more explosive. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible to watch the job that Liam Coen has done. We keep saying it, not sure how it's going to happen, but they got to find a way to keep this guy, because it is a luxury to have a guy that can put this many points on the board. And we see how Todd Bowles' defense, whether it was that Chargers game a couple weeks ago or this one here or the New Orleans game earlier in the year, if you give this team a lead, the defense can really rise to the occasion and make those plays. We saw the eruption in the sack department. Anthony Nelson had a sack today. Logan Hall's up to 5.5 sacks this year, now tied with Levante David. Chris Braswell had his first sack. Yaya Diaby had a sack today. So it's crazy the amount of sacks this unit put up. And granted, it was against an overmatched team, but Matt, the New Orleans Saints are coming to town next week. And if the football gods could just smile on the Buccaneers tonight and have the Falcons lose, they're going to be in position to win the NFC South on Sunday. I don't see the New Orleans Saints coming in here. I know that was my trap game, and we did this PR roundtable exercise a few weeks ago. We're like, where's the trap game? I think somebody said Dallas, and they were right. I said the Saints. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't think the Saints have enough firepower. Certainly with Spencer Rattler coming in here, they've already dismantled them the first time. They don't have enough on defense or an older team. The Saints are going to be the cellar dweller in the division, even if Derek Carr comes back next year. The Panthers are probably going to be a better team next year. One more year's worth of growth from their young nucleus, another draft. It's going to be the Bucs and Falcons fighting it out for the top again, and the Saints and the Panthers fighting it out for the bottom. And I just don't know with an interim head coach that they're going to come in here. This place is going to be electric. If the Buccaneers have a chance of winning the division and getting in with the Commanders' help tonight, this place is going to be absolutely electric next Sunday with Mike Evans' 1,000-yard season on the line. You just have to cross your fingers and hope. It's a shame that this team couldn't seal the deal against the Cowboys last Sunday night, because I don't want to say next Sunday would be an afterthought. You never want to believe show up and win. But the way they played today, as you said, Matt, and great point that you made, when this offense doesn't turn the ball over, it's just about unstoppable.
And because they do it in so many different ways. Like Baker Mayfield, again, 5 touchdown passes, over 300 yards throwing the football. And Bucky Irving was just as good on the ground. And Bucky Irving obviously gets it done, in the screen game as well. So this is a Super Bowl caliber offense right now.
It really
and I'm
is.
taking the defensive performance with a grain of salt. Of course, no Chuba Hubbard. But, I mean, you love seeing Yaya, the king of pressures, finally getting a sack. You love seeing Chris Braswell, who, doesn't get to play that much, and you get that opportunity when you're winning by 30 points at the end of the game. Seeing him,
Yeah.
that's got to help out his confidence, especially with Shaq Barrett now in the mix. He obviously didn't play today, but could factor in later on. And the Bucs, regardless of what happens, and hopefully they get in, but the Bucs are a team right now with their high-flying offense. You don't want to play them in the postseason. And they have to get there. Like, the Commanders have to take care of business. We understand that. But, like, I'm watching the Packers-Vikings game right now, and odds are the Bucs are going to end up playing one of those teams, depending on, how it looks after Week 18. If the Bucs defense can put it together just a little bit, I mean, the Bucs are going to be scary. I just love what they're doing on offense. Everything's working. They're getting contributions from everyone. It's not just the Mike Evans show, and it can be if they really wanted it to. So, man, I hope the Commanders win. I want Week 18 to be fun. And, this Saints team, if they don't have Derek Carr, which they don't, they're not pulling off any upsets. Like, Spencer Rattler's not fooling anyone. They've lost all their pieces on defense. Like, next week should really be a blowout, too, with the Bucs celebrating getting into the postseason if the Commanders do their job. But, man, I mean, and again, the Bucs got to thank Eddie Pinheiro missing that kick at the end of the second quarter, because momentum was swinging in the favor of the Panthers. They had scored that touchdown and then got it right back, and we're trying to kick a field goal with 5 seconds to go. Thank you to Eddie Pinheiro, who just cannot hit a field goal against the Buccaneers, because I think that third quarter may have started a little bit differently had Pinheiro made that field goal at the end of the second. But just an overall very fun game watching the Bucs. They did everything on offense. They did some good stuff on special teams with the special teams touchdown, and their defense showed up in the second half. So, a lot to celebrate, a lot to enjoy.
And a lot of super chats coming in. We appreciate your support, Pewter people. Thank you so much for the super chats we have lined up. Let's get to them here in order, and we'll get to your questions and comments.
Yeah, thanks to Alec Nass for this $4.99 super chat. We appreciate it. You have another one as well for $1.99, so thank you very much. As Alex says, great atmosphere at Ray J today. Super loud. Yeah, Scott, you're obviously still there right now. What was the vibes at the stadium?
I mean, it was just one of those games. If you're a fan, you want to attend. It was a highlight reel game where, if you're doing a highlight reel for this game, it's even condensed. It's probably 7 minutes long. Just so many big runs, big catches, big plays, big sacks, the duck. I mean, everything. It had it all today. It was just one of those great games to be here. My daughter and son, Ellie and Logan, were here today. Was fantastic. So I already got the feedback from them. It was a great atmosphere to be a part of, and to see the milestone too. I mean, let's not forget. And you feel bad for Rachaad White because he was 10 yards away from hitting that mark. But for Bucky Irving to hit 1,000 yards and to witness that's something. So that's very, very cool atmosphere today at Ray J for sure.
And he did it so early in the game too to get 1,000 yards. It's like you weren't really waiting on pins and needles to see if he was going to get it. And then the Duck took the show as well. Moving along, thanks to Revfish for this $4.99 super chat. Says, is there a salary cap for assistant coaches, or can we pay Liam anything we want? What a game today. Go Commanders.
I mean, if the Blazers read Pewter Report, I've only written about Liam Coen a couple times this year. I think the last three SR's Fab Fives have been about him because he's the story. This offense is the story this year. They've been wearing the Superman cape since week 1 when they scored 37 on the Washington Commanders. And you have to find a way to keep him, right? I mean, Todd Bowles, if he wins the NFC South and this team makes the playoffs next week, I don't see him going anywhere, right? Maybe unless they get trounced in the playoffs and, it's a bad feeling, whatever team comes in here. If the defense gives up 30 points, maybe, you look at it and say, well, do we have to keep Liam as a head coach? There are some ways. We've seen the Blazers open up the checkbook twice, making Monty Kiffin the league's highest paid defensive coordinator after Super Bowl 37 in 2002. We saw the same thing with Todd Bowles becoming the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league after his defense just about single-handedly won Super Bowl 55, beating Patrick Mahomes and keeping that high-powered Chiefs offense out of the end zone. So you do the same thing. You say, what the hell is Ben Johnson making to Detroit? We're going to add some more money to it. Liam, you're the highest paid offensive coordinator, the head coach in waiting. Maybe that's enough. I don't know. As I wrote on Friday in the SR's Fab 5, keep an eye on New England. That was his team growing up, the New England Patriots, Jared Mayo. Mm-hmm. There was some chance after that blowout loss, fire Mayo. So I don't know if that Patriots job opens up. Do you want to be a head coach in New England, or do you want to stay and be an offensive coordinator in Tampa? I don't know. I don't know what Liam Cohen's thought process is. He hasn't really shared that from the podium. But if I'm the Glazers, I'm doing whatever I can to keep Liam Cohen.
Yeah, and the fact that they did it with Todd Bowles a couple of years ago, making him the highest paid, it's like, hey, well, we've done it before. Let's do it again.
Yeah, you just hope it's enough, right?
Yeah, and again, because everyone is coming back next season, you have all the pieces in place except for Chris Godwin and maybe Ben Bredeson. It's why wouldn't you try to make that as good as possible? And it's not just that the Bucs are scoring. They look like a dominant college offense, the way that college offenses will put up crooked numbers of 60 or whatever the case may be. This Bucs offense looks like Joe Burrow on LSU. Or Bama in their prime when they have the best running backs and the best wide receivers. That's what this group looks like under Liam Cohen.
And Matt, to your point here too, real quick, it's they got Dave Canales and he was an upgrade, right? From 18 points per game to 21. But we're talking about a touchdown upgrade now, going from 21 points to 28 points, and I think it'll probably shake out around 30. That's a quantum leap. And if you lose Liam Cohen, I mean, lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot. It just doesn't. And so I don't know that the next offensive coordinator is going to come in and be necessarily the next Liam Cohen. He might be the next Canales, and you take a big step backwards in points and all of that. So it's a tenuous situation for this franchise. They've got to find a way to keep Liam Cohen somehow, some way.
Yeah, we'll see. Got to take it one step at a time. We'll focus with the Commanders and then take it from there. But sticking with the Bucs offense, thank you to Virgin Boys for this $1.99 super chat. Says, I want to see more of Culp. He looked good today. Yeah, I mean, clearly the best game of his career. First time he made a catch and a lot of different great plays today by him. Obviously, getting some more opportunities with Cade Otton not available and Ko Keith being more of a blocking tight end. We'll see if the Bucs keep blowing teams out and they have another blowout chance against the Saints. I'd like to see it. He's got a little speed to his game, and at least in terms of the tight end position. And I kind of like that you're getting contributions from all the tight ends. So hopefully that's another recipe for the Bucs to score points, and they can just beat you in so many different ways.
Yeah, I talked to Devin this week, and he was excited again for the opportunity. It's sad it came at Cade's expense, but that's the whole next man thing up theory is step in and step up. Be produce like the guy that you're replacing would produce. And that's what both Payne Durham and Devin Culp today did at the tight end position. No
doubt about it. Thanks to Bill Vincent for becoming a new Pewter Report YouTube channel member. We appreciate that very, very much. Charlie Johnson, you were talking about this last week with Devin Culp and coming back for more. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Says, guess rookie hazing is over with for Devin Culp. Yeah, that was a great game. 52 yards. It wasn't like he just made one catch and it was like, all right, thumbs up. You did it, kid. You made it to the show. No, he was an important factor for the Bucs today. I mean, he ended up being, what was it? He was third on the Bucs in receiving yards today. That's a big time contribution.
Yeah, and Baker Mayfield had him open for what could have been his first touchdown. That was one of Baker's 5 incompletions. It's thrown a little bit too high and out of his reach. But yeah, I think a touchdown might be coming for Devin Culp next week if Cade Otton is out, because he's come a long way really quickly and a very exciting player moving into 2025 for this team.
That's a good prop bet to look at for next week, because it's going to be a very high number. And if he's getting more playing time, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Thank you to Jamie Miles for this $5 super chat. Says, 1, Commies win tonight. 2, repeat performance versus the Aints next week. 3, Mike gets at least 85 yards next week for 1K. Please and thank you. I would put the Mike at 85 too, and then repeat performance, because I think you can still beat the Saints and not score 51 points and win in a blowout.
Right.
So Mike 2, Bucs still win, but put that at 3. But thank you for the super chat, and yes, I want all those things to happen.
No doubt, that would be quite the parlay for sure.
Michael, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Says, even if we win a playoff game, parentheses, it'll likely because of the offense. Coen still needs to be head coach next season. Baker and Coen are too good together.
Yeah, we've seen the Glazers do some interesting things. There are some in this town that believe that the Bruce Arians was essentially told to retire so Tom Brady could come back for one more year because he didn't like passing the ball a whole bunch. He wanted to have more of a running game. That's what Todd Bowles wanted. But Byron Leftwich didn't listen. So for the second year in a row in 2021 and 2022, Tom Brady threw the most passes in the league in both of those years. So it's kind of crazy how that happened. Maybe they should have fired Byron and told Bruce to retire, but they've done that before. They fired John Gruden to promote Raheem Morris. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned to PewterReport.com, people, and to Pewter Report on our social media channels, because we're going to have all the news for you. This is going to be a wild ending for the Buccaneers season. Yeah. Hopefully not for a couple more weeks, but however it ends, there's going to be a lot of news. And, of course, as you know, nobody tackles the Bucs offseason like Pewter Report does. We're in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. We're in Indianapolis for the Combine. We cover free agency and the draft better than any media outlet, so make sure you stay tuned to PewterReport.com and all of our Pewter Report channels, Pewter Report TV on YouTube, for all the content coming this offseason and during the playoff push.
Yeah, that's right. We have a lot coming up and still have our focus right now on this Bucs team who hopefully can reach that postseason. Let's do one more super chat. Aaron, thank you for the $4.99, says, does SR still believe the Glazers won't allow Coen to leave? Unless there's a succession plan, might be too enticing for Coen to stay if New England fires Gerard Mayo. This is something that we talked about on a recent episode and even brought up earlier on the show.
Yep, and I wrote about it in the SR's Fab 5. We might be the only media outlet that's kind of covered this angle. And I asked Liam about Tom Brady and the Patriots on Thursday at the press conference. It kind of, keyed me into the story. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have head coaching opportunities. It's another thing to go home and do that. We saw even Scott Frost, the UCF coach, take the Knights program to new heights and then get called away by his alma mater, the Cornhuskers, right? And he left. Now he's back in Orlando because he made a mistake. So sometimes the grass isn't always greener, even if it's a trip home. And maybe Liam Coen feels that way because, as Matt said earlier, and he's spot on, you got Baker Mayfield, not Drake May. You have Mike Evans. I don't even know who the number one receiver is in New England. I really don't. You got Jalen McMillan. You got Chris Godwin coming back. You got these emerging tight ends, Cade Otton, Payne Durham, Devin Cope. You got a much better offensive line to work with than you do in New England. Oh, and you got Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker and Rashad White and the Duck down here in Tampa. So you have it all here in Tampa. It's a hard place to leave. And again, different story though when it's maybe home calling you. Remember, Liam Coen was born and raised in Rhode Island, went to UMass. The Patriots was his team growing up. Tom Brady was his quarterback. So we'll see. That's the one team I would really be concerned about. But again, the Glazers can make it happen. They just got to
pony up.
Pony up and make some things happen, if you read between the lines there. So we'll see what happens.
Well, speaking of that, Duck, that galvanized the crowd in Raymond James Stadium. You could also say it energized the crowd in Raymond James Stadium in the same way that having a Celsius energy drink can energize you. Of course, Celsius is the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. We love Celsius for all of their fantastic flavors, including the Arctic Vibe, my personal favorite. You see the sparkling watermelon lemonade on the screen there as well. So if you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, and maybe if you're in a different area or a new location or something like that, and you know where to find one, go to the Celsius store locator on their website, punch in your address, and it'll tell you the closest place where you can pick one up. Could be a Walmart, a Publix, a Stop and Shop, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And once you know that you love Celsius after going to your bodega and you know you want more and maybe you want to buy it in bulk, You can buy it in bulk over on Amazon with the subscribe and save and have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. It's up to you. You do it at your own leisure. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius Energy Drinks, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. We still have a lot of super chats to get to, so we'll keep it rocking and rolling. Thanks to Virgin Boys for this $4.99 super chat. Says, I think next year Bucky has a chance to be a top 3 running back. I can see him getting over 2,000 scrimmage yards next year easily. Yeah, it feels like Bucky, as great as the season has been, he's really just scratched the surface. I mean, it took a while for the Bucs to really lean into letting Bucky be the main guy at running back. And sure, he had to earn it at the beginning of the year, but there's no question now, Bucky's the guy. He's the man. And that doesn't mean that Rachaad White isn't important. And we saw Sean Tucker, get involved today as well. But, it starts with Bucky Irving at running back, and he's transformed this team so much. And the offensive line has been a huge part of that. But they have something really, really special, in my opinion, with Bucky Irving at running back. And you see why the crowd gets so pumped up when he's in the game. He just does a lot of great stuff for the team.
I mean, you look at the running backs that truly have electrified Raymond James Stadium, and there have been some good ones. Like Doug Martin was a good running back, had a couple 1,000-yard seasons here in Tampa. Cadillac Williams, had a good rookie season, 1,000 yards before injuries kicked in. To me, there's really been 3 running backs that I've seen here at the stadium that have truly gotten fans out of their seats and just electrified the crowd. And as good as Warwick Dunn was, he really wasn't one of those guys. Warwick had a lot of fans because he went to Florida State, and he was a very good running back. Don't get me wrong. But the guys I'm talking about were Mike Alstott, right? When Mike had the ball, bowling over people, blasting through defensive players, the A train just got people on their feet. LeGarrette Blount was another one of those guys, right? And so you got 2 big backs. LeGarrette would hurdle you or run you over, right? So those were the 2 kind of running backs that really got this place rocking, that got Ray J rocking. And those are 2 big backs. Now all of a sudden you got little diminutive Bucky Irving, who brings that Chicago toughness that Mike Alstott did, just in a different package. And so he's kind of like what I would call the perfect blend of Mike Alstott, who's also a Chicago native, with Warwick Dunn, closer to his body size. And, it's fun to watch this guy. And Matt, we heard these chants in week 1. This is a town, a stadium, a fan base that has followed this kid's rise through training camp in the preseason. And then week 1 against the Commanders rips off a 31-yard run, and you heard it for the first time. Bucky, Bucky, Bucky. And it's become a staple now. Every single week, it's fun to see. And, this kid is electric. I'm with you, Matt. I think he very well could get 2,000 yards from scrimmage next year. What's been most impressive is the consistency with which he's done it. I want to say almost every game he's averaged 4.9 yards per carry or more, averaged 5.7 today. That's the thing. You don't have this 7 yards per carry game and then a 2 yard per carry game. It's not feast or famine with this guy. It's feast, 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 feast. And today he was feasting on Ducks because of that duck out there. He was. And he's rooting for his Oregon Ducks in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, that'll be exciting too. It's coming up in 2 days, 3 days. So I mean, Bucky Irving is just like the Bucs offense. All consistency.
Yeah.
No flukes, really. No flukes. Yeah. He does it week in and week out. And he always makes people miss. Like, you can already write off, like, the first offender, not tackling him. It just doesn't work that way with Bucky Irving. Yeah. Nicola Legistina, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, says, all of our rookies were so good. Woo! Super Bowl 59 is ours. Yeah, that's true. I mean, Bucky, we already talked about a lot. Devin Culp with the big game. Woo! Chris Braswell with the strip sack. No doubt about it. Jan McMillan, 2 touchdowns. A really good performance from the rookies today. Tyke Smith was a little quiet, but that's fine. He's made a ton of plays this season. Yeah. Looking like another really good rookie draft class for Jason White, and signing the Duck as well. Just another great move for his GM resume.
It's just crazy to think, Matt, when you look at at these draft classes the Buccaneers keep getting. And I hate to say it, at some point in time, the NFL is going to wonder, what's going on down there in Tampa, and whether it's John Spytek, who has been overdue for a general manager job, Mike Beal, who has been in charge of the draft here in Tampa for many, many years, Byron Kiefer, who is now kind of like taking on that Mike Beal role, as Mike Beal has been elevated to director of player personnel with Rob McCartney. This is the year, unfortunately, I think Tampa Bay is finally going to get rated in their front office. The fact that they've kept this band together has produced all these good drafts, and Jason Light has stockpiled this this personnel staff so deep that I think they can weather the storm. They can't lose Mike Greenberg, though. Mike Greenberg, you cannot go to the New York Jets and become the general manager. You can't go back to your hometown and leave this franchise. That's probably the one player. Well, he's not even a player personnel guy, but he's a front office guy. He's their salary cap wizard, their team strategist. They can't afford to lose him. But I think that there's enough talent in that scouting department that Jason Light has assembled that they're going to lose some people this offseason. And I think they can still weather the storm and put some really good draft classes together. And we'll see where they draft, because the more they win, the higher that draft pick is going to go. But they've done really well these last couple of years.
They absolutely have. I mean, they're deserving of having those people be general managers, but selfishly, of course, Bucs fans want them to be back in Tampa. Thank you to JD Foster for the $6.99 super chat. Says, just imagine if we had a healthy Chris Godwin with this insane run game and overall strong offense. Draft all defense, inside linebacker, edge, 2 corners, cut Dean. Yeah, I mean, if you just put all of your free agent money in Chris Godwin and then just draft defense, then you could improve that way. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, how much does Jalen McMillan and some of the tight ends develop if Godwin's back? I mean, obviously it's an embarrassment if Rich is, and it's, hey, you still rather have Chris Godwin anyway. But, it just shows how good this offense is. It's almost like you don't forget that Chris Godwin isn't there, but they scored 40 points. In twice in the last 3 weeks without Chris Godwin? So, man, just incredible what they're doing.
And this is a slot-based offense. This is very similar to Bruce Arians, where the slot receiver is the featured guy. It's just not vertical like it was with Bruce. It's more crossing and underneath and intermediate stuff. It's run after catch, and that's what Chris is really good at. So, to me, when Chris Godwin comes back next year, and you said it best, Matt, it's an unfortunate thing that Jalen McMillan has got these extra reps and targets at the expense of Chris Godwin, but it's only going to make the Buccaneers better in the long haul. So you have really their true number 1 receiver coming back next year, Chris Godwin. Then you got your, he's the 1A. You have your 1B in Mike Evans, and now you got a really solid number 3 in Jalen McMillan. And then what you do is you draft another wide receiver, probably on day 2, right? 2nd or 3rd round pick. This is a passing league. We saw this year, the offense took a little bit of a dip without Mike and Chris, right? So you have to, you don't want Ryan Miller being featured, right? You don't want Sterling Shepard being featured. That had to happen in some stretches this year. If they had another capable wide receiver, another Jalen McMillan-esque to throw into the hopper, that kind of guy, look out, because there will come a point in time where Mike is going to hang up the cleats. And if you just feed that machine at wide receiver and throw another premium quality wide receiver in the mix, we saw what happened in the Super Bowl year in 2020 when you had 4 unstoppable targets in Mike and Chris and Antonio Brown and the tight end Rob Gronkowski, right? So if you do this, if you have 4 quality wide receivers in Mike and Chris and Jalen, and then another Jalen-esque type of rookie coming into the mix next year that can get 5 or 6 touchdowns due to all the attention elsewhere, look out.
Right, and because I think you could spend like a 4th round pick on a receiver and still find someone that you can develop and get quality play from. It feels like a little bit the ship is starting to sail on Trey Palmer, but he's still a very young player. Cameron Johnson had a nice end-around play today.
He did.
So, yeah, I mean, you can still stockpile the greatness that you have right now and then just add to it. And you can have patience with it as well, which is nice. Yeah. So Bucs offense is in a good spot no matter where you look at it.
Really
Quarterback,
is. Yep.
O-line, tight end, running back, and receiver. There's really not many flaws. And talking about the future of the team, not even just the immediate. Thanks to Hezo813. Thank you for gifting 5 Pewter Report memberships. As you've done all season long, whenever the Bucs win, you gift those Pewter Report memberships. So we very, very much appreciate it. Paul Morales with a $1.99 super chat. Thank you. Says, we did what we were supposed to do today. Go Bucs. Yep, the Bucs took care of their business. Now, hopefully, the Commanders do their part.
Yep, for sure. We have a ton of stories up on pewterreport.com right now. More coming tonight. So make sure, if you have not visited pewterreport.com yet, as soon as we're done with the show, go to the website. Check out who we have on the most disappointing list. We talked about that in the press box, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with who comprised the entire list of most disappointing today. Most impressive is a long list. Adam Slavon, his fingers are sore from typing because he's got about the whole damn game day roster today. And we would be remiss too if we didn't say it was cool to see Shaq Barrett on the sidelines today. I asked Todd Bowles about him in the press conference, and he is going to be hitting the practice field. It was no surprise that he was inactive today. He hadn't even practiced with the team. He just signed his contract and passed the physical on Saturday morning, which was yesterday morning. So he is going to practice next week, and he very well could be active on Sunday against the New Orleans Saints to help this team. But they didn't need the help today. They got the pass rush going. And Matt, you and I even talked about it on the Pewter pregame show. Just having this guy in the building, and Todd referenced it after the game. He's such a good locker room guy. He's such a good mentor that even in that role, he could just energize and bring some juice to this defense. And we saw it today, 5 sacks. Logan Hall, Anthony Nelson, Yaya Diaby, Calijah Kancey, Chris Braswell, 5 sacks. And there's a lot of guys that needed those sacks, right? Chris Braswell needed it for his confidence. Yaya has been like so close all season, had half a sack last week, finally got home today, almost had another one. So this is a nice little shot in the arm. Even if Shaq Barrett doesn't do anything on the field, this little furious finish here to the season, having him just even for a week, and we'll see what happens, and we'll see when the Buccaneers season ends, if it ends next week or if it ends a couple weeks into January. It's good to see Shaq Barrett back and helping this young outside linebacker room.
I agree. He's going to help one way or another. And the one outside linebacker that didn't even really end up making a play on defense made a huge play on special teams. The JTS blocking the punt.
That's right.
Ended up getting covered by J.J. Russell and scoring the touchdown after they showed the duck. So really contributions from everybody and everywhere. So thanks to Paul Morales for this $1.99 super chat. Says, oh, wait, sorry, I got to that one. Meets McGee, thank you for this $5 super chat. Says, as a Bucs fan for 45 years, parentheses 79, I never had more trust in a Bucs offense than a Bucs defense in its history. Wow. Yeah. Even the 2021 Bucs team, which wasn't even the Super Bowl winning team, but that was a pretty damn good offense as well. It's funny seeing high-flying Bucs offense when the history of this franchise has been their defense.
Yeah, and they're coming close. They're not going to get it, but they came close to a record. That 2021 offense you're talking about had 10 games of 30 points or more in the regular season. That set the franchise record. They had 8 games in the regular season with 30 points or more in 2020, and guess what? They matched that mark today with their 8th game with 30 points or more. So Tampa Bay has a chance next week to get to 30 points again against the Saints. That would make 9 games in a regular season, which would be the second most in franchise history behind that 2021 season you're talking about. Truly remarkable, almost as remarkable as the attention that you're going to get and the level of care that you're going to get with Briar Greaves Insurance. And folks, I can speak from experience when I talk about Briar Greaves. if you're a longtime Pewter Report podcast listener, you remember the late, great Mark Cook talking about Briar Greaves Insurance. And I've been a Briar Greaves customer for years now, since those days. And there simply isn't a better insurance company in the Tampa Bay area. I think we're getting back to what really matters, which is the personal touch, right? Which is the relationships as human beings that we can have. And it's good to have relationships in business. And I want you to visit briargreavesinsurance.com to see for yourself. Briar Greaves Insurance is family owned, and their main goal is helping people find the right insurance policy for you and your family, whether it's home or auto, boating insurance, or business insurance. Turn to Briar Greaves and find out why their personal touch and their customer service sets them apart. The days of waiting on hold to speak with an insurance representative that you don't even know are over. With Briar Greaves Insurance, you'll have a relationship with your agent, like I've got mine with John Greaves, who can answer your questions and advise you on your best policies. As 2 recent hurricanes have shown us all that live in the Tampa Bay area, there is a cost to living in paradise. Briar Greaves can make sure that you have the right hurricane and flood insurance to make sure that your home is protected. It's important to have both the hurricane and the flood insurance, because if you live in one of those flood zones, if you don't have that hurricane insurance is not going to protect you in case of flooding. It's little things like that that help, folks, and that's what they want to do. They want to help you. So help yourself by visiting briargreavesinsurance.com today. That's Briar, B-R-I-E-R, Greaves, G-R-I-E-V-E-S, or call their office tomorrow at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166, and tell them the Pewter Report sent you.
All right, moving along with these super chats. Thanks to Eric Marino for these $5. Says, go Bucs, great win. Let's go Commanders. Any word on Cade Otton, MCL sprain grade? If it's a grade 1, could he play Sunday? It's been 2+ weeks.
Not sure. He's got a knee, as Todd Bowles would say.
Not two knees like Jamel Dean. One.
Correct. Knee. One knee. He's got a knee. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Cade Otton. But Matt, as you talked about earlier, having Devin Culp step up and Payne Durham catch his first touchdown today. That's that big time plays today that those players made growth in their games and gains in terms of the stat sheet, and that helps out for sure.
Yeah, I like what I've seen from Payne Durham over the past couple of weeks. Like, he's not a Gronk, he's not a Travis Kelce, but
right,
he's a solid 4th or 5th option. Just kind of find him open from time to time and let him make a play. And congrats to him on his first career.
Well, yeah, but listen, we got to talk about this for a second, because as Baker Mayfield said at the podium, so Payne Durham catches his first touchdown, right? What does he do? He throws it into the stands.
Yeah,
you don't do that.
I know.
So the Buccaneers sideline staff had to go negotiate with the father and son that caught the ball. And so, as Baker said, that's going to cost Payne right there, right? Because you got to pay for it, right? You got to do something to to make up for getting that ball back. And Payne did have the ball, walked into the locker room with it, and then as Baker also said, then he gets fined. It's like I think $100 fine or something to throw the ball into the stand. So he's going to get fined for it. It's going to cost him money or merch or whatever to give to the family that had the ball, that they were able to negotiate that ball's return to Payne. So you can tell that Baker was really giving Payne some crap about that in a very much good-natured way. But yeah, congrats to Payne Durham. Long way to touchdown. He's come close a couple times.
Yeah, he has. And with all due respect to Payne, he's not making Mike Evans money. So, Mike launches it into the crowd, but Mike has been paid handsomely for what he's done in his career. Payne's still got a little ways to go, but nonetheless, a cool moment, a funny moment too, especially
for sure
how it went down. Thanks to JD Foster for this $2.79 super chat. Says, if we limit penalties and turnovers, we will be a threat in the playoffs. Certainly, if you limit both, for sure. I still have my doubts about the Bucs defense against better opponents. Let's remember it was the Panthers, but nonetheless, get in and anything can happen.
How many takeaways the Bucs defense have today, Matt?
Zilch. They forced a fumble, but it was recovered by the Panthers.
Right. And that's going to be an Achilles heel because you got to win the turnover battle against good teams in the playoffs, right? Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, whoever they're going to end up playing at whatever round, the Eagles. You got to be able to take the ball away on defense, and that's something this Todd Bowles defense has not come up with. And we know Baker Mayfield, he makes plays, and today was a great day. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. It's hard to sit there and say, Baker, take this team all the way to the Super Bowl, but don't throw any more interceptions along the way. That's going to be hard. And so for every giveaway that you have on offense, you have to have a takeaway on defense to balance that out. That's what great teams do. And I think that's what's holding this Bucs team back from greatness is the turnover margin. When you don't give it away, you don't beat yourself.
Yeah.
Beat anybody.
It's very rare that you see a team win the Super Bowl that is so one-sided in terms of like being great on one side and then not having anything on the defensive side. So it'll be tough, but who knows? The Bucs have a week to figure it out. Hizo813, thank you very much, says for the $5 super chat. Victory today, but sucks to know this offense won't make a deep playoff run due to the putrid pass defense. Yeah, I mean, it depends on who they end up playing, at least in the first round, and then you want to get momentum. But yeah, the pass defense is still a bit of an issue, despite the fact they only allowed 14 points. I think I credit that more to the lack of talent that the Panthers have than really many things that the Bucs did.
And I'm just pulling up this, and I don't know that this has been updated through today. I don't think it is. But heading into today, the Buffalo Bills are plus 23. 23, they're plus 23. Okay? And then you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 15, the Packers plus 12. I'm talking playoff teams here. The Chargers plus 11, Texans plus 10, Vikings plus 10, Eagles plus 10, Lions plus 9. Right. And then you look at the Buccaneers minus 4. Like at some point in time, if you don't get takeaways on defenses, it's going to come back to bite you, and it'll end your playoff run if this team makes the postseason without those takeaways on defense.
It will. It will. But again, one step at a time. Got to see the Commanders. Got to see the Commanders win tonight.
Yep.
Thomas Moore. Thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat. Says, one thing that stood out was Bowles calling out his defensive backs after halftime. I hadn't seen him do that before. Was that at the halftime?
The end of the first half, he said that his defensive backs need to get their head out of their ass. I guess he said that.
Oh, really? Television. Good for Todd.
Either on TV or the Buccaneers radio broadcast. It was broadcast. I'm not sure if it was radio or TV, but that's what he said. And, of course, you give up those 2 big plays to Adam Thielen, those 2 touchdowns. And Thielen was a problem. He was a problem for the Bucs in Carolina. Almost, took them to victory, had that last-minute touchdown. The Buccaneers did end up tying that game and going to overtime, but, he's been a problem. You see him with the big catch there on Zion McCollum. And to their credit, they really stopped him cold and got after Bryce Young with those sacks and shut out the Panthers in the second half. So credit Todd Bowles for coming down on those defensive backs. And and I tell you, Tyke Smith had pretty good position on that deep shot. It was just a step away. Maybe that's a rookie thing. Adam Thielen's a crafty old vet at 34. But credit to the Bucs defense. They shut him out in the second half.
Yeah, I'm happy for Todd. I know he likes to protect his players, but I think every now and then to try to get a pick-me-up. And who knows? I mean, I'm sure he told his corners that, too. I doubt they were listening to CBS or the Bucs radio. But I don't think it's bad that he's able to call it out. Because you know what? Sometimes
he probably repeated that Bowles, at halftime.
I mean, as much as we get on Bowles, like there are times where the play is called correctly. It's just
that's right.
The players didn't get the job done. Like at some point, it has to fall on the players, too. And I think that was the case for sure. First of all, Joel Elrican, thank you for gifting 5 Pewter Report memberships.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All of your support. And Nick Dubuque with a $4.99 super chat says, and thank you very much, says, my 5-year-old son, Cameron, is asking for a Tampa Bay Thanks
There we
again
go.
for the coverage. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Hope you and your son Cameron had a great time watching the Bucs have a fantastic game today. And thank you for the support.
Yep.
Thanks again to Joel Elrican. $2 super chat says, "Let's go, Bucky Nears." Yeah, I mean, there's so many puns between the Duck now and Bucky and Bucky's, our favorite store. Shout out to Bucky's. We'll be going there in Mobile in a couple of weeks.
For sure.
Yeah, just so many puns involved. And Bucky is a star. He's a star of this team. And, the fans dictate it. And if they're chanting his name, then shows he's a star.
Yep.
Aaron, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, says, "Is there any internal discussion of making Jason president of the team in order to move Spytek or Greenberg to general manager?"
I don't know. I put it out there a couple times. I think I wrote about it in SR's Fab 5. I think I wrote about it in the mailbag when asked about Mike Greenberg. I've talked about it on a Mike Greenberg Pewter Pulse video. I've thrown it out there. It's a good suggestion, right? If it were to happen, I think it would be to keep Mike Greenberg as general manager. John is a tremendous talent evaluator, and that's what you have in Jason. Where Jason lacks in general managership, if that's a word, is the salary cap. It's the strategy part of it. And so that's why you need Mike Greenberg to stay. Also, Greenberg preceded Jason Light. Actually did Jason's contract. So I think Greenberg would be the guy that it would probably become general manager in that scenario if Jason moved up. I gotta think that John Spytek gets a general manager job elsewhere, and I don't want John to leave because he's been a huge part of the success. But man, he deserves his own team. I'm not saying Mike Greenberg doesn't, but I've already told Mike, I'm like, you're not leaving Tampa. You can't take the Jets job, even though they're going to interview you, even though you deserve it, even though that's home for you, pulling on the heartstrings. That's tough. He grew up as a Jets fan in New York. Mike is from New York. Yeah. Mike Tannenbaum, who is leading the search from the 33rd team, right?
Yeah.
Is the guy that hired Mike Greenberg when he was the general manager of the Jets to be his intern in the salary cap management department. That's where he met Jackie Davidson, who is now his assistant here in Tampa when she worked for the Jets front office as well. So that will be a tough place for Mike Greenberg to turn down if he gets the job, but I hope Graney stays down here in Tampa.
I mean, it's just another example. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Mike Greenberg, Jackie Davidson. As soon as you leave the New York Jets, you're on to bigger and better things.
That's right. Well said.
As well. Anyway, moving on, and thanks to Aaron for that super chat. Thank you to Marcos for this $4.99 super chat. Says, "Let's freaking bake, Bucs. Excuse me while I become a Washington fan for a couple of hours. Also, won my fantasy Super Bowl. Thank you, Bake and Bucky." Well, Marcos, congratulations to you. We love seeing our Bucs fans win their fantasy football championships. I'm still in the middle of my championship matchup right now, but congratulations to you, Marcos. We are very happy that you won. Joe Wisniewski, thanks for the $2 super chat, says, "Why do our backs always
Matt,
why are they always facing away from the pass?"
Matt, did you freeze up?
I think I'm good. Can you hear me?
Up? Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we just had a little bit of a blip here in the stadium. Are we good?
Blip on the car. Anyway, I was saying congrats to Marcos on his championship, fantasy football championship. Moving on to Joe Wisniewski, thanks for the $2 super chat. Why do our DBs, why are they always facing away from the pass?
Great question. I think they need a new cornerbacks coach. I really do. New cornerbacks coach, new outside linebackers coach. If Todd Bowles ends up staying, I think he's got to make some changes on his defensive coaching staff. I think they need younger, better position coaches to really unlock the potential of guys like Zion McCollum in the secondary, Tyke Smith. I think he's done a really good job. Nichols, cornerbacks coach, Rashad Johnson. I'd like to see him get the full-time job as the cornerbacks coach, period. They got to have somebody replacing George Edwards to really help Yaya Diaby, Chris Braswell reach the next level. These are guys they've invested second and third round picks in, day two guys that they have to have become impact players. I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Light goes out and Chase is a free agent pass rusher. He's done that before with Shaq Barrett. He might even go out and get a bigger name guy But there's been a couple of guys, Robert Ayers was a player that they went out and signed in free agency back in the day. He acquired a guy like Carl Nassib off of waivers. He's traded for Jason Pierre-Paul. He's attacked the outside linebacker position a lot of ways. He just hasn't had the success drafting one, whether it was Noah Spence or Joe Tryon-Shawinka, whatever. So somehow, some way, you got to find a way for these guys to reach their full potential. I think it's better coaching is where I would start if I'm Jason Light, and then look to free agency.
Yeah, regardless of what happens next week for the Bucs, and if they make the postseason, there needs to be some changes on defense, without a doubt. We have 2 super chats from Joe. Thank you for the $1.99 and 99-cent super chat. Thank you very much for your contributions. And our final super chat comes from Thomas Moore. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat, Thomas, who says, the Bucs didn't seem to miss Sterling Shepard today, given the numerous penalties and lack of awareness on display.
Well, yeah, the receivers caught the ball today. Shepard had a couple key drops last week, unfortunately, but certainly was great to see guys like Jalen McMillan step up. I think Ryan Miller had a drop, but for the most part, the offense really performed well. The tight ends, we've talked about that, really stepped up and showed out well. So it was really great to see. It's also great to see Hizo and Joel Elrican, those guys continue to dish out those Pewter Report TV channel memberships, and we greatly appreciate that, folks. If you want to show your support for Pewter Report as 2024 winds down, there's no better New Year's resolution than to become a Pewter Report TV channel member. And you can do so by going to the front of Pewter Report TV, our YouTube page, and hitting the join button. And it shows you this page here that has all of our options from $3.99 to $24.99 and all the different perks that you get for those different membership levels. Find the one that suits your budget and help us at Pewter Report TV grow our online community. We greatly appreciate it. It's a great way for you to show your support. And we turn around and use that money, that revenue, to do things like go to the Senior Bowl and hire more staff members and go to the Combine. And every penny that we get, we pour right back into our coverage here, and it benefits you guys. So whether it's new equipment, personnel, bonuses for everybody, everything. So it's a great way to support Pewter Report. And if you are a business and you want to grow your business, help your business score new customers by advertising with us, we have Pewter Report's sponsorships, whether it's for this Pewter Report podcast, the Pewter Pulse videos that I do, the pewterreport.com website, or our social media, which has over 100,000 followers and growing between X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can email me at sr@pewterreport.com for those sponsorship opportunities. I'm happy to have a conversation with you about that. But it's a great way to reach literally millions of fans. We're over 1.5 million visitors for pewterreport.com. We are over 700,000 podcast viewers just since the start of football season. So it's been an absolute great ride with you guys, and it's not over yet. We have a game next week to get to, hopefully some playoffs after that. And you know what happens tomorrow, Matt? It's a Victory Monday, and the best place to celebrate a Victory Monday is at Walk-Ons.
Game day at Walk-Ons is just different, and it starts with the way our teammates prep each dish from our scratch menu. No shortcuts. We are hand-cutting every single mozzarella log straight from the block, hand-peeling, stuffing, and bacon wrapping each voodoo shrimp, hand-carving ribeyes for our steaks and po' boys, and hand-slicing, then tossing our boneless wings and our house-made sauces. With wall-to-wall TVs and food like this, why would you want to watch anywhere else? That's game day, the Walk-Ons way.
That is right. Walk-Ons is the place to go for so many TVs, as Wasp says, and Wasp has been at Walk-Ons, and it's a great place to go for Monday Night Football. And you can even go there right now to watch Sunday Night Football because they've got some great game day specials going on. But tomorrow is happy hour from 3 to close. They have happy hour all day on Tuesdays, including $5 Tito's. You can't beat that, a pair of happy hour. So when the college football playoffs kick off this week, you know where to watch it, at Walk-Ons. Happy hours from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. to close. $3 happy hour pours, $3.99 domestic pints, $4 house wine, $5.49 22-ounce domestic draft, And some great starters, $6 fried pickles and small waffle cheese fries, $7 boom boom shrimp and queso dip, $8 boneless wings and cheeseburger sliders, and trivia on Monday at Walk-Ons too.
Yeah, so make sure you check out Walk-Ons. Just a reminder, we'll have a Victory Monday episode tomorrow. We'll, of course, recap what goes on in the Commanders-Falcons game, too, and see where the Bucs are sitting going into the final regular season game of, the season, like I just said. So, in the meantime, if you're not already doing so, as Taylor Gaines says, give Bowles his flowers. Yeah, he's kept the team together. No doubt about it.
9 wins so far. He matched last year's win total. We'll see if he can get the 10 wins next week. Should happen against a very hapless New Orleans Saints team. But if they play this well, they're not going to lose the Saints. They're not even close.
That's right. So in the meantime, if you're not already doing so, please follow us on our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel, which you're watching right now, is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. We'd really appreciate it, and we thank you all for your support. So that'll do it for us. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. Go Commanders tonight. Shout out to the Good Luck Duck, and we will see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out. Bucs win.
Out.